My name is Hinsz. I'm a product line manager here at NETSCOUT, and I'm here to actually talk to you about our new release for the AirCheck, our AirCheck G2 V2.0. So let's actually take a look at some of the features that are a part of that. So what can you expect? Well, yeah. That's always the reaction I want to hear when I put new features up. So we'll be going through each of these individually to one extent or the other. We'll actually be demoing some of these to you guys as well. But what I really kind of want to take you through real quickly is just each one and kind of talk about what it's all about. I'm going to assume with this crowd that I don't really have to introduce iPerf or the concept of actually doing some performance testing, but that is coming in this release. Captive portal support. So I know that there are some heavily held beliefs about captive portals, but we also know that they still exist out there pretty heavily in the wild. So we have heard a lot from people saying, hey, I love this, I love doing the connection test, but my network uses a captive portal, and so I'm stuck. Well, now you tell the AirCheck there's a captive portal, and we'll be able to pop that captive portal for you to tick a box, whatever you insist somebody does.
Can I just ask a quick clarifying question?
Please.
Tell me this is all software and not a new hardware revision.
The new hardware, no, it's all software. It is all software based.
It's
in this one. So you take an AirCheck right in front of you. With the software being released, you'll be able to load it on your unit, and these functions will be available to you.
Excellent.
Quick question on the captive portal support, because the question came up earlier today. Can it emulate the client types or anything? Like, you know what I mean? Because certain devices behave differently.
So if your infrastructure is doing something like watching MAC addresses and automatically funneling some MACs to like a captive portal and not others, we don't have the ability today to like change the MAC and spoof something else. If that really becomes necessary, it's something we could, I guess, investigate. But we're not trying to spoof another device to trigger something in the infrastructure.
Okay. How is it that because there's a lot of different types of captive portals, right? There's different types of information and things along those lines that's being requested. How is it that you guys are getting through that?
What we are actually doing is we have put a very thin web client onto the device. So when you tell us that this is a captive portal network, during the part of the connection, we will actually pop that little web browser, and we'll load whatever that captive portal wants to display. And then if you need to put in my room number and my last name, because that's what that hotel insists you do, or scroll through the terms and conditions and tick the box and say, I agree, whatever you need to do on that web page, we're going to allow you to do.
Okay.
So what we're essentially doing is, which we didn't have before, was we're allowing you to interact with a web page that would be popped up as part of that captive portal experience.
If after finishing that, can you save that as a profile so you don't have to do it again? Is it scripted up?
I can't save your entries into the captive portal. No, not today. Something we could look at, but that's not implemented here.
I thought we were going to drill on each of these as we went on. I have an iPerf question.
That was the intent, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, if we're going to talk about them later, then I'll save it.
Well, definitely we're going to do a pretty deep dive on iPerf.
Okay. I was going to ask about performance limitations of the unit and what's expected bandwidth. And
that definitely will play in. And if I don't hit on that when I get there, please remind me of it, because it is important to bring up. ACLs, that's something that the original AirCheck had. The ability to say this is unauthorized, this is a flagged unit, this is unauthorized. That was something that the original release, the 1.x release of AirCheck G2 did not. So that's coming across as part of the G2. Interferer identification. So tried to be really careful not to tip my hand when we were talking about non-802.11 earlier. We are actually leveraging some capabilities in the onboard radio to identify things that we see. So our Wi-Fi radio vendor has some capabilities, and we're leveraging those and bringing those to the user.
Is that like a pretty comprehensive Cognio chipset level, or is it more Spectrum XT, or is it not? At what level is that auto identify work? I mean,
it's certainly not going to be. It's still certainly not at Spectrum XT level. So Spectrum XT leveraged a customized ASIC that had pretty fine resolution to scan through the band. This is still the Wi-Fi radio. Now, the particular vendor that we're using for our Wi-Fi radio has added a fair amount of that stuff in, and they have some history with the company that actually made the original ASIC for Spectrum XT. So there is lineage there, but certainly the level of resolution, et cetera, they didn't boil that into their Wi-Fi chipset because they didn't need it. So I'm not going to claim that this is XT levels.
Can you tell us who the vendor is?
I'd rather not.
I just thought of an excellent use for those USB ports, though.
Are you asking about like signatures specifically?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, the accuracy of signatures in general is highly impacted by the resolution, as you might imagine, by
yeah.
which you can scan.
And
the
that's kind of what I was
frequencies.
asking, is this you have 10 signatures or 100 kind of range?
It's not 100. That's an easy answer for you.
Fair enough.
53.
Packet capture. So, that thing of like, hey, you can't, particularly for those lower level tech, hey, I can't figure out what's going on here. I'm stumped. All right, fine. I'm just going to save this packet capture, take that PCAP file, take it elsewhere, or send it up to an engineer to kind of look at and try and sort
To
through
Link
what's
Live.
going
Send
on.
it to Link Live, yeah.
Send to Link Live.
I wish, not in this release, but yes.
Okay.
Send it to a Windows machine.
And some other enhancements. When I think people are going to be kind of excited when they see them. They're not marquee level, but I think I'm predicting I will see some smiles.
A question on the packet capture. It came up earlier, and
Yeah.
I think it's especially considering radio and that type of thing. Is that will we see the full radio tap headers and all of that? What's
We do put radio tap headers on the front end. We have verified with things like Wireshark that Wireshark understands what we're putting there and doesn't sort of like barf all over it. So yeah, you'll be able to see that information, and you will have like the channel it was on, the signal strength at which it was received at, et cetera, available in the radio tap header. So iPerf testing, user can select TCP UDP. We're using a 3x version. I'm not going to really read through this too much because this is the first place I'm actually going to launch a live demo. So
Can you talk about that test accessory?
yeah,
That's getting me excited.
that's exactly what's going to be part of our demo here.
Oh.
Because
Yes.
what I really want to be able to do here, if you think about being out in the field and trying to do this, is I don't want to have to try and spin up a dang on iPerf server every single time. So, as part of this release, we have a device that, from a look and feel perspective, is going to look awful familiar.
Yeah.
But it is a new device. It's a totally different firmware load that's on it. So it is an all-new device. But it's basically an iPerf server in your pocket.
Can you pass it around?
Of course I can. That's why I have it. That's why I have separate ones over there.
So can it be used for?
And so if I can find an open port, I can jack that puppy in, and then I can run my performance tests to that. And that's
PoE?
actually what we're going to demonstrate.
PoE like a Link Sprinter 2?
PoE. You can use PoE or batteries.
Man.
We actually would recommend using PoE because that, as you might imagine, gives a far longer life. What we have found is just in general, as people using Link sprinters may have noticed, keeping Link up on like a Gig E port takes a lot of power. So if you wanted to like run repeated tests over time, yeah, your batteries are going to wear out. You're going to be replacing them. But boy, if you got PoE, you're good to go.
So there's no way you can do this on the Link Sprinter.
No, the code base, as you might imagine, that little device, there's not a lot of code space. So it's sort of a one or another kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, the Link Sprinter is a Link Sprinter, and you'll notice it's labeled a test accessory, and I'm pretty sure I called it a test accessory everywhere here, because we are leaving ourselves open to the fact that maybe there's a couple other things we could do with it. If we've got the code space, we're gonna we'll look to expand it, but right now it's iPerf. That's what it's all about.
Do you configure it like a Link Sprinter via web page?
You can, but actually you don't have a lot of need to configure anything to run what you're going to need to be able to run. So you're going to, let's see if I can get myself up and running here.
Are we going to be able to hit it from other endpoints than the G2?
Yes. Is it legit iPerf or is it specialized iPerf?
It's legit iPerf. So the G2, if you want, can point to a real, just your own iPerf server if you want, or to this. It's real iPerf that's running on that. So there's nothing special sauce about it.
I could have a NetBeans run against the
Is
Link
it-
Spinner server or a computer with linked iPerf.
Is it 2 or 3?
3.
It's 3.
3 which, sorry?
iPerf 3.
Oh, okay.
This is my VNC connection, incidentally, to the AirCheck sitting right there. Unfortunately, the only way you see a mouse on this particular VNC viewer is this teeny little dot. So you'll pardon me, I have to kind of squint and figure it out. You'll notice, for example, interferes now sits right on the home screen. But right now we're talking about iPerf. So let's go run an iPerf test. I'll show you my iPerf settings for now. I'm looking to do TCP for 20 seconds. I'm told what battery life I have. That's good enough. Come back to home. Let's go find my wireless field day demo network. I'm going to go ahead and connect. As you might imagine, running the iPerf test, wires being connected. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and get connected to the network. It's going to run through your usual connection test, because that's how AirCheck connects to a network. So it'll run through this. And once I've completed this, folks may remember with normal AirCheck, you had options for saving those results or running like a roaming test once you were connected to a network. Now, once we've completed all that, you're going to notice that we will now have an option to run an iPerf test. So that's what I'll actually be doing at the end of this when it finishes up, is I'll run that iPerf test. Now, there's multiple ways that I will discover any test accessories I might have out there. And you'll see that screen when it comes up. AirCheck, in an attempt to make this as simple as possible for the user, it doesn't like it. It doesn't trust it if I have my Ethernet plugged in, which is how I'm VNCing. Very understandable. But I'm going to do it anyway. It's going to search for iPerf remotes. And here's what it's going to do. First, quite logically, it's going to try the exact same subnet that it's currently connected to for the wireless. Then it's going to check the subnet of the last Ethernet connection test I ran. So maybe you're not sure. Well, one thing you can do, jack into a cable, run an Ethernet test, unplug, plug the test accessory in, and now, because that was your last Ethernet test, it'll make sure it checks that subnet as well. Third thing, which I don't have enabled here because we made a little isolated test network so it can't get to the world, is these can be actually adopted on Link Live. And it will query Link Live and tell you about any of them that are in your organization. And so you'll also get that list.
Wow.
And there will be a little cloud icon to let you know about which ones it got from Link Live.
That's awesome.
And then you could have in your Link Live, I have one next to this server, next to this server, next to this.
You can name them, and we'll pull down friendly names.
Oh.
So you can see here's the MAC addresses of the two ones I found. My little lightning bolt telling me that these are running on PoE. I mentioned the battery type earlier. If I wasn't running on PoE, those bars would tell me how much battery life was left. The reason we asked battery type, as you might imagine, as you well know, different discharge curves. So to try and make sure that's as accurate as possible, you tell us, we'll adjust them accordingly. But all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pick, I'll pick this one. You notice like it'll switch which one I'm targeting at up above. The reason that it was already populated with 4 was it remembers the last one I tried to target. So having picked one, I'll go ahead and hit start. And it's going to launch my test. And it's going to show me my average speed, average down, et cetera. And it's going to run this iPerf test and then finalize the results. A couple things to point out here. There was a question earlier about performance and to what extent are we limited. Yes, the AirCheck is not the beefiest of things, and it's particularly right now for me, it's also trying to run the VNC connection. So there is a certain amount of limitation that the AirCheck hardware itself is going to bring to bear. So I'm certainly not going to claim to you that if you have an 80 megahertz channel and you associate your AirCheck to that puppy, that it's going to saturate that. It's not. But like here, it can get pretty good. Up speed around 200 megabits, that's nothing to sneeze at. And one of the things that we did here to try and make sure, and if you guys don't believe me, you can come and check it out later, but that we did here to try and actually make sure that we weren't gumming up the results is my little VNC network is isolated from my AP and my test accessory network. So there's no way it can be accidentally funneling the packets out the Ethernet and coming up the results. So I really, truly did get those results you see here. Yes?
Would be fantastic to see the iPerf server functionality rolled into G2 in case you're on site with a team that has multiple G2s. You don't have to carry around another box. Replicate that functionality as a target because you've got an Ethernet port that you can plug straight in.
Interesting suggestion. Yeah, that's something we could look at. As part of this, we're going to update. That reminds me, we are going to update the AirCheck kit. So the AirCheck kit will now include one of these in it.
Oh, nice.
Your PHY rate is 1.3. Are you that's what's offered by the AP, or are you actually connected and that's your current MCS?
That would be the MCS that we were leveraging, the last MCS we leveraged. Now we're
So
not
the
that far
AirCheck's
away.
a 3x3?
Yeah, it is.
I know it's going to be an odd question, but can that little guy, the test accessory,
Come back your way.
thank you, Vanna. Any thought of interacting that with the OptiView?
Probably the best way of answering that is
I
to
think
say
you already
that
did.
the best way to answer that is all the other product managers, and part of the reason I was forced actually to rename it the test accessory, was that all the other product managers are going, hey, what you doing over there? That's kind of cool. Hey, do you think I could use it with, so instead of it being, having a name that tied it to the AirCheck,
Yep.
didn't want that because all the other product managers are like, oh, I could use that. And then people are saying, well, do you think I could fit some code to also do this in there? Okay, well, we don't want to put iPerf in the name then.
So my question was no less than visionary, is what I hear, the feedback.
Even a broken
I
clock is
guess
right
we
twice a
could
day.
look at it that way, or so pedestrian that everyone had already thought of it.
Oh, you're good.
Chris, have you guys come up with a list price for the accessory yet, bought on its own?
We do have a list price for it.
Free for all previous G2 owners?
Oddly enough, no. But we will have, because we do know that there's going to be people who have it, we are going to be looking at multi-packs, and those multi-packs will come with some discounts. So for example, someone who already had a fleet of G2s and was looking to, look, I need like 20 of these because I want all my guys to have one. I got 20 AirChecks. You could buy 2 10-packs, for example, and you would get a bit of a price break at that volume. The other thing, actually, we've got one guy who's been playing with it who may have been talking too much. And that particular individual also said, man, I just want a bunch of these because I'm just going to seed my whole doggone network with them. I'm just going to place them near everything I care about, and then I'll just pick which one I want to test to at any given time.
Right.
So, yeah, we're going to make these pretty widely available and understand that a lot of people might want to buy more than they otherwise would.
Do you have a ballpark list price that you can toss out, or a range or a figure of some sort?
List price for us is still possible to change between now and then. I would say you should expect something between, say, 400 to 600.
Okay.
And the kit will go up a little bit with this included, but there will still be, just as there is with the kit today, a bit of a discount because versus buying all the incidental pieces of the accessories that come with it. That will continue. So the kit will have a little bit of a price discount versus buying a stock AirCheck, all the accessories, and the iPerf.
If I can maybe provide just a little bit of feedback there.
Sure.
At the WLPC, we were able to put together Odroids that ran iPerf 3 and whatnot, and total kit cost there is about $100. I think that's obviously a much better solution, but that's a huge delta in price. So I'm not suggesting that people won't buy it. I definitely think they will, but it's just something worth noting, I think.
Good to know. All right, that's pretty much the iPerf demo. Any questions?
Signal level is aggregate, peak, bottom.
Signal level changes over the course of the test and then locks in on the last value.
Locked in on the last value. Okay. It's the final signal.
It's the
level.
final signal level at the end of the test. And admittedly, we didn't get up and walk around partially because it's tethered with VNC, but you would have seen it probably changing more if we'd done that.
Would be maybe interesting to get a smooth or an average SNR or average RF numbers out of that for the duration of the test. Test duration, did I see that as a modifiable field?
Yes, that was a modifiable field.
Okay, so that would maybe make averaged RSSI or SNR a bit more relevant. then.
Okay. Did I also make sure that I got a full answer to your question
Yes,
about
you
platform
did.
limitations?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So let's talk a little bit about those ACLs. Now, as I mentioned, this was something that the AirCheck G1 did. So AirCheck G1 had the ability to pick authorized flag, neighbor, unauthorized, unknown. And so that aspect is not new. But in its inclusion in AirCheck G2, we did make some tweaks that we think are kind of nice. One thing that we did is you can set the default to be a none state. So instead of everything defaulting to one thing or another and cluttering up your display, and you can actually just pick none. And so things anything new that you hear will just be completely untagged, no ACL, as opposed to automatically falling into a bucket that has a little icon. The other thing, and let's go back into demo mode. If I come back home and I run, there's my mouse, an auto test. Yeah. You'll notice I've also added searching for rogues as part of auto test. I can turn that on and off. But now if I actually have configured anything, if I've hit something that's a rogue access point, and when I run my auto test, it'll actually let me know anything that's in a flagged state or anything that's in an unauthorized state. Otherwise, it's going to give me a pass. Uh-oh, found something. Oh, that's right. It hasn't finished running yet, so I can't burrow down yet. But I can actually burrow down on that. I'll burrow down on it when the test completes. But this was, part of that, trying to bring an extra level to this ACL other than just, hey, when I'm looking at the AP screen, I can see the icons. That is still there. That's very much what the G1 was. But we wanted to actually use that information in more locations. So now if you actually have found rogues or you have tagged things that you're interested in, you want to be alerted if somebody plugged it back in, like let's say you already caught this guy once who was frustrated with the wireless and he brought in his home AP and had it plugged in under his cube, and you tracked it down once using locate, and you got it, you admonished him, told him to take it home, got it turned off. Now anytime you ran an auto test, if you had that turned on, like, oh look who's back. So you actually have that ability.
So ACL manual entry, actually typing in, BSSIDs or AP names, things along those lines. Support for wildcards or regular expressions?
No, we don't have that. Something I can look at, though. Something we can look at.
But text import.
Yeah, for text input, I want to look for all SSIDs that are Linksys asterisk, or you pick a regular expression.
No, but I'm saying you
Right-
can't
right.
import them with the manager text file.
Link Live?
But yes, you can do mass import from like a CSV via AirCheck Manager. But yes, that's yet another thing that falls under that bucket of we would love to get that up into Link Live. Because right now that's tied to profiles, and profiles is definitely something we would like to get long-term up into Link Live. So as you can see, I was actually able to drill all the way down on that rogue that I found to get the full details of what I found. So that's now all available, boiled into the auto test. So I don't have to go to my AP screen to see it. However, if I do want to go to my AP screen, because that's how I'm feeling, let's see if I can go ahead and why don't I sort by the authorization class. And as it search scan, you can see some of my approved ones and flagged ones showing up. So very much like the G1 in that respect, those icons are readily available and visible to me here in the AP screen so that if I'm just cruising around, I can see see if anything pops up. Let's talk a little bit about interferers on AirCheck G2 and how that's going to manifest itself. We hinted at this a little bit earlier, that the interferer's function is something that's really tied in to the radio. The radio is going to detect these things and give us a heads up. These will log an interference event. We saw on my home screen earlier during the earlier demo that there's now a category for that, interferers. So let's kind of take a look. Do we have our interferer on? Great. So let's go see. You can see an example of a logged event here on the screen. And I think we just turned on our interferer, so let's go see if coming back home. Oh, I have an interferer. That's my wireless video camera that I have over here. And it's a pretty unfriendly device. 100% duty cycle, clobbering 1 through 3.
And locate at the bottom. Fantastic. Locate works just like locating in a society and
Same concept.
fantastic.
Same concept. So we're going to try and help you find that by stronger, lower signal strength, try and track that down and get it dealt with.
Do you have a common list of things that you would be able to detect? The short list, of course, is microwave ovens.
So yes, we can detect wireless cameras, microwave ovens. We can detect Zigbee. We do try and have some thresholds in place in terms of not triggering on anything and everything. So, for example, one thing that we don't always trigger on, more because of the power level, is Bluetooth. So there's so much BLE out there now that oftentimes Bluetooth is low energy enough that we doesn't meet our criteria as really interfering. So you won't always see a Bluetooth device show up, even if it's present, more because it's probably operating at a relatively low signal level and we don't see it as interfering. But Bluetooth can trigger it depending on the device.
Is that a threshold that says don't show me anything don't show me anything below a duty cycle of X?
I'll happily show you the interferer's configuration area. This is what I can configure. So right now we haven't actually exposed that threshold to the user. And part of that's because it's kind of embedded into the algorithm. And to be honest, what side effects might also be present if we expose that, we're a little concerned about. But it's something we could entertain.
It'd be nice to it'd be nice to have a more comprehensive list of expect to see this, or maybe more importantly, don't expect to see this.
I think the biggest don't expect to see from everything we've seen is Bluetooth. And particularly because Bluetooth has gotten, I'm not going to say it never interferes, but it's certainly gotten a lot better than it used to be about interfering and about its power levels. So whereas 7-8 years ago, yeah, it was pretty loud and it was going to be a problem. Now a lot of Bluetooth devices we just don't see being bad enough to trigger it.
Once you do have a conversation about Bluetooth, what sort of fidelity do you get if you have obnoxious Bluetooth, or something that's first generation Bluetooth that you're sitting right next to? Mm-hmm. Do you see the MAC address of the Bluetooth device?
No. Much like what you saw with the wireless camera, it's going to be that same level of information.
Okay.
Because we are leveraging our onboard Wi-Fi radio to do these detections. It doesn't know Bluetooth signaling, so it's not going to be able to actually peel open the MAC and give you a MAC address or give you anything around, say, like the services offered or any of that.
Well, then as we're kicking around potential use cases for those USB ports, it might be kind of nice to throw a USB dongle in there and get that level of fidelity.
Something we could look at. See, you had to bring up the USB. Yes.
Observation, and I've been cleared to mention it, and you can agree, and if it doesn't fit with what you want projected, it'll get cut. But as I'm listening to all the enhancements, my mind goes to, it almost feels like you're taking Air Magnet Laptop Analyzer and making it into this.
That's actually something we're trying not to do.
I'm saying the functionality of it, and it's not a bad thing.
What I think is probably the fairest statement is that we really consider the AirCheck more than anything a tech level tool. And we desperately don't want to complicate it to the point that that target market gets freaked out by using it. It doesn't mean, obviously, you guys use it, love it, and can get a lot of use out of it, but we really don't want to leave those guys behind. So I think the more honest way of saying it is we're kind of looking at everything that's in our troubleshooting products, like Wi-Fi Analyzer, and saying, you know, what stuff in here is really still something the tech needed to do, but AirCheck never did. And so we're kind of trying to segment those things and say, well, this is one the tech kind of, liked doing. That's great. This thing confused and scared them and they never wanted to use it. That's fine, we're not going to bother with that. The other way we're kind of looking at it, and this will play into something later, is for those things that maybe a tech wouldn't know what to do with, but it's safe to just put it over in a little corner. Like, you can access it, you just tap here and that shows up. We're entertaining those because, again, it's there. And you'll see my example when I get to that slide, because I think it'll be pretty obvious which one is something that a tech probably goes, but it's fine. You tap it, it's there, you don't want to do it, you don't do it. But I would really hesitate to say that we're intending to take the AirCheck completely and usurp WFA's role. We really don't want to go there.
Kind of feels like it, though.
Would it be fair to say the spectrum analyzer on this is around the hermetic level?
That's probably fair. Hermetic still technically had a little bit better resolution because it still did use that same ASIC. It was just sort of software hobbled, which is why we could sell an Hermetic to Spectrum XT upgrade. But yes, feature functionality wise, I think you're a lot closer there.
I guess I have a question.
Yeah.
WiMAX detection or any of that fun stuff? Like
Zigbee.
well, he said Zigbee earlier,
sorry.
but yeah.
Honestly, I don't believe it detects WiMAX. I haven't seen that on our list.
I guess
Keep
maybe
me honest,
ask,
I don't remember seeing that on the list, so I don't believe it detects WiMAX.
maybe ask differently. You have a published list of things that we should expect to see.
There will be one at release, yeah.
Well, with the advent of Halo or Halo or whatever the hell you call it,
HALOW.
your dongle, idea, boy, that would be nice.
Yeah.
If it goes anywhere.
Yeah, you're talking about Wi-Fi Halo?
Yeah, 900 meg.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. And the one that we're actively looking at, but we haven't, honestly, we don't have enough equipment on site to really do the testing, is LTEU. Packet capture, we kind of touched on this. What I wanted to basically show you, it's now as part of your save. So you did a bunch of work, you had a bunch of things, you brought up the saving of a session file. I go to save, I now have this option to say, tick the box, I'm going to save this packet capture. And then I can choose what my capture name is, my capture file size, and so that will then allow a save, tells me how much space I have remaining until I export that off.
So, 2 questions. Oh, go ahead.
Maybe it's probably the same question, but any looking at being able to upload those into like Cloud Shark or Mojo packets or some kind of a.
Ooh, I had entirely different questions.
Oh,
It is unlikely that we would do any integration other than Link Live. Now, once in Link Live would allow you full access to that and could allow you to pull it anywhere you needed to. But in all likelihood, we would integrate with Link Live as the way of getting it easily up and off.
Okay.
Right now, it's offloaded via the USB.
Are you slicing packets or are we taking payload and everything?
You can elect to slice a packet.
Okay, and
That's
then
configurable.
it's configurable. Okay, and then channel dwell time, sets of channels, I assume are all configurable.
That is all based, because this is actually, in a sense, retroactive. Those are based on your current scan pattern for your AirCheck.
Okay.
So
if
much like the session file today is kind of retroactive. I was doing a bunch of stuff and I go, boy, I ought to save this session because same sort of thing now. So now, you know what? I think I want to save this packet capture. So it's going to be whatever you were configured and doing at that time.
Good to know.
How about filtering? Can you filter somehow on what you want to try to capture?
Now, you're not going to filter at all other than anything you might have set for your scan patterns, et cetera.
And you said radio tap.
Radio taps are automatically on it. So that's not a selectable thing.
Good.
All right, here's the and more. This is the one that channel overlap view. That's the one I was thinking of when I said, that's a good example of something that probably not what the tech's ever going to look at and go, oh yeah, I know what that means. But it's just a new option in the channel view. So it's a pretty easy addition in the sense that tech never goes there, tech never gets scared by it, life is good. But those folks who do want to tap it and turn it sideways and take a look at that can. And then we had a lot of requests to actually break out supported rates versus basic rates in the AP details. So you can see that's also now available. So I can actually split that out now and see both listed when I look at the details of an AP.
Fantastic.
Is there a reason why you're showing CCK curves rather than OFDM curves?
We just use parabolas, yeah.
Just you know what it is.
Yes, we know what it is. We're just using parabolas generically.
It would be neat to see that broken out as CCK being parabolas and
I can look.
OFDM
I think it was more a graphical challenge for us, but I can talk to the team about it.
What's with the triangle?
Yeah, it was one of the same thing.
Like in the center there.
That's pyramid modulation.
Oh, no, that's not really a triangle per se. What you have is
line.
primary channel to center of the overall channel. And so it's creating an effective triangle because some of these are coming this way and some are coming that way. So there's not, it's just, again, in our building, there's lots of stuff. You take a screen capture and
Color code or flag on an OBSS situation? When you had a mixed primary, secondary?
It's an interesting
I
suggestion.
mean, pretty short code, just if this, then blank.
It's an interesting suggestion. We don't have, that's not built into it, but that's an interesting suggestion that we could look at.
Because in WFA, they actually have a flag for it.
Yeah, I know.
You already know how to do all the calculations, so.
That's pretty much AirCheck G2 V2.0, guys.
For screen orientation,
Yep.
landscape and portrait views obviously beg the question, can we just have that functionality in the entire unit across the full UI? And then yes, you're scrolling more, but if you're landscape, then
Especially sometimes in the AP view, you'd like more columns.
you'd like more columns.
The channels view.
Yeah.
That's an interesting suggestion. I can take that back. Yeah. To see whether or not we can make that like a user choice.
Gonna get caught. Keith, your question about being able to store the credentials for the captive portal, because I've been testing the captive portal for quite a while now. Yeah, that would be great, but
Especially just, I've been on this before. I know I'm going to click OK, and that's the only thing I have to do.
yeah, because I would
That
say
should
that
be scripted just to go.
when you guys see the captive portal integration, don't laugh because it is pretty.
It's a very
I
thin web
tested-
client.
I tested it with a lot of different scenarios for complexities of the captive portals, and as long as the web developer gave it a very basic form field for at least the input fields that you have to do, all the other crap is just stripped out. So it's pretty easy and pretty quick to do. That's the other reason why I wanted the keyboard.
So
To the passwords and usernames.
rubber ducky.
I wondered about that too, if you could payload it off of something by emulate. That's again the keyboard support. Is you could if you could emulate a keyboard, we can
Plug a rubber ducky in that's a programmable keyboard, and then have it type in our credential 1,000,000 times every time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
well,
that
and-
conversation with
and the
John
thing that-
about doing that.
The thing that actually, one of the reasons that would work really well is because then you do actually see the captive portal. You see the page load, you know that it's working, because sometimes that's the problem.
Yes and no. You see the page load because
You see something load.
Well, yeah, you see a web server respond. You see it actually provide the page. You see it ask for credentials.
yeah.
So if all of that's scripted every time, you may or may not be testing. You may not be completely testing the
I mean, it is very rudimentary. Like Chris said, it's a very, very, very basic browser, and it's not skinned pretty or anything. Just to get quick and dirty up there, because
Sure.
the fact of the matter is that you should be doing this once, and then subsequent tests should pass for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever their CP duration is.
I mean, I assume if we run into a situation regularly where we have a particular type of captive portal that's not supported or problematic, you would accept that as feedback?
Oh, yes.
Maybe for a future generation?
Oh, yes.
On a campus environment where we have
a visitor SSID and your internal, is it possible to spoof a MAC address so that way if someone's registered, I can test one SSID and test the visitor?
We don't do MAC spoofing right now.
Spoof it the other direction.
I think we already heard the question earlier in another context, so there may be some reasons to maybe look at that, but we do not do any MAC spoofing currently.
Spoof your AirCheck Mac onto your laptop and run it that way. So that if you're just trying to get past the captive portal,
Or change the users
I
in
was
your
thinking
backend.
like in terms of somebody who doesn't, I'm just going to send someone out there.
Then just add the AirCheck into your approved database.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mac
but if I
bypass.
also want to test a visitor, they can't, in our situation, they can't be on
Buy
that.
2 AirCheck.
Can't do both.
No, you can't
Buy,
do both.
buy one, get one free program?
That ended a while ago.
Yeah, so actually, well, but that's a valid point, and if you ever add that, you'd want to add that in as part of the network profile.
Yeah.
So actually make it so you could change the MAC address based on network profile, and that would be easy to test those various things.
If we did it, it would live at the profile level.
Getting
Yeah,
scary.
that's what I was thinking. So you can have a field tech just select the profile and
Yeah.